Hello and welcome to Board Game Gumbo. Today we're unboxing Bonfire from Hall Games. This is a game for 1 to 4 players that plays in 70 to 100 minutes. Bonfire is a heavier Euro style game that mostly relies on action selection. So here we have extra bags and a bag full of wooden components. And these represent quite a few different things. We have some elder tokens. We have several different colors for our player pieces. And then we have several different colors for sort of our elders or priest pieces. I forget exactly what they called these. So every player is going to get a collection of workers, also this little dial that each player is going to get, along with a ship. So we're going to kind of separate these a bit here because everything's kind of mixed together. So first of all, we have resources. Resources come in several different shapes and colors. We have player pieces, which you can kind of figure out because they're the only ones with a ship. So we have a ship of this color, which means we have player pieces of that color as well. And obviously we'll sort them out. These are actually in the same color, but not the same pieces. These will go off to the side here. So we have some more resources here. Obviously one of the player colors is blue because we've got a ship, and so on. So we'll organize those more later, but those are all of our resources and player pieces and different things. Then we have a deck of cards here. There are 2 types of cards. So you can, during the course of the game, hire what they call specialists. And these are the specialist cards. You can have a total of 6 cards throughout the course of the game, but once you acquire them, you can't get rid of them. So you kind of have to be careful about which ones you want to select. And each card has a particular resource on it. You'll have to pay at least one of those resources, possibly 2, to acquire the card. And then it has a special ability. All the special abilities are going to be listed in the rule book, and there's too many to go through all of them. But there'll be basically a market of these cards, and whenever you want to acquire one, you can acquire one that's on the market. You also have these elder cards, and the elders give you points. They also have a resource on them. Again, you'll have to pay at least one of those resources to gain an elder. Elders give you points based off of one of the aspects of the game. So this one, for instance, when you gain it immediately, will give you 1 point based off of the number of these pathway tokens that you currently have on your board. So the elders are better to get at the end of the game, as long as you don't wait too long and somebody takes the one you really want. We also have some little cheat sheets here. I love when games give you these little reminder cards or whatever you want to call them. It's just really handy to have this information right in front of you. This is all in-game scoring. So you're going to score points at the end of the game based off the portals you've completed, based off of where your worshippers are, based off of combination of portals and these little tokens that you'll have out, and so on and so forth. Resources at the end of the game. This explains all the in-game scoring. These I'm not familiar with. They must have something to do with the solo mode of the game, which I don't know very well. So everything I'm going to be telling you is going to be about the multiplayer version of the game. We have 2 rule books. I assume one of these is going to be not English. That is English. So this must be, yes, not English. So we'll put that one aside. Take a look at our English rule book, the one that I can read. All of our components set up here. As I said, this is a heavier Euro game, so there's a lot going on here. A lot of the actions you're going to be doing on your turn kind of they intermingle. So one action you take will actually affect the other actions that you can take. But essentially you'll be taking actions with these tiles in these 6 different colors. And depending on what action you're taking, that's the tile you're going to use. You're going to start the game with 5 tiles. And then throughout the course of the game, you're going to have to acquire more tiles in order to keep taking certain actions. But they list all the actions here. They also list the end game. There's a countdown at the end of this game. Instead of, a lot of games will have, when you reach this point, you take 1 extra turn. This game has, when you reach this point, you take 5 extra turns. So it's kind of interesting. Here's the rules for solo play. And then at the back here, you have an appendix, which is going to explain what all the tiles mean. It's also going to explain what all the cards mean. Again, fairly heavy game. So you're probably going to be using this, at least in your first playthrough, a lot. And then symbology here and final scoring example just to help you out with that. Here we have our game board. So on one side, we've got the box art, which is pretty cool, but unfortunately isn't used. And then on the other side, we've got our actual game board. We also have in our box a whole bunch chipboard, and included in this will be our player boards. So let's go ahead and get those and explain to you a little bit better how the game works. So this is a player board right here that we're punching out. It's a little sticky, but it's nice and thick. The color's good on it. See these little pieces pop right out. No problems there. Sometimes these, oh, nope, no trouble at all. So let's go ahead and take a look at a player board and then the game board in general and kind of explain what you're doing here. So this board here actually will give us a better idea. These are the actions you can take on your turn. At the beginning of the game, you're going to have all these cardboard pieces that has 3 different action tiles on them. And that's going to start in the middle of your board. That's also going to determine 3 of your starting tiles. You'll get an additional 2 wild tiles that you can use as anything. But you'll start with, if you choose this tile, you'll start with 1 brown, 1 white, and 1 green tile. And then that will sit in the middle of your board. And then throughout the course of the game, you can get more action tiles by putting the rest of these tiles, and you'll have a reserve of them, obviously, back out onto the board like this. Whenever you put these tiles out, they have to connect to a tile that's already there, so you can't do something like that. If you cover up one of these, you get a gold resource, which is basically a wild resource. If you cover up one of these, you get a gold tile, which is a wild tile. It can be used for any action. You don't have to match color to color. You could, for instance, put this one here, and none of the colors match. It doesn't matter. However, you're going to gain tiles based off of this new piece that you're putting on the board. And if you do match the tokens or the colors, you're going to get additional. So if I put this tile here, so nothing is matching, I'm going to get 1 white, 1 purple, and 1 green tile. If I put it here, however, I'm going to get 1 white, 1 purple, and 2 green because we're now matched up. And if I put it here, I'd get 2 white, 1 purple, and 1 green. So that's something to keep in mind. But that's essentially how you get more tiles through the course of the game. And notably, you can only do this action, putting another piece on your board here, if you only have 1 tile left. So you have to use the tiles you have before you get new ones. You can discard tiles just for that purpose, but you want to use them if you can. So that's how you get tiles, and tiles are basically how you use the other actions in the game, which are on this piece. So here is add a piece, right? That's one of the actions you can take. Another action you can take is you can build one of these pieces here, which we have on this chipboard here. So we'll punch one of those out. And basically these are pathways that you can build. For instance, here. Whenever you build them, that costs you a green resource, which it actually says on the board, or it costs you 2 green resources. But that's your first action. Second action is you can move your boat. Costs you a certain number of blue tokens, depending on how far you want to go. Whenever you move your boat, you can also take the red or white action immediately. But if you didn't do that, or you did that and then your next turn you want to do it again, your red action is picking up a token from one of the islands. So these are the different islands out here, and they'll have these tokens on them, just put out randomly. If you're playing with a full player count, you'll have 3 tokens on each island. And if your boat is at that island, you can take one of these tokens by paying a red resource tile. These tokens are going to cover up your spots here. You can see you can have several of them. And these are objectives that you're trying to complete. So this one, for instance, and say this in the book, is you want to have one offering at 2 different islands that show this resource. So you can also see that each island also has a resource associated with it, which is something you have to pay whenever you're taking a tile from it. But if you complete this objective throughout the course of the game, you get to flip this token over. It's worth 5 points at the end of the game. That's basically why you want to do these objectives, is to get those points. It's also red, which does matter, because if you match colors during the course of the game, you get extra points. So if I completed this portal at the end of the game and we had this token over here, they don't match colors. So I'm not going to get extra points. I believe it's 2 extra points. Not the end of the world, but if we had put a yellow one here, we would have gotten those extra 2 points. So that's moving your ship and also taking an offering tile. Whenever you take one of these offering tiles, you also have to put, whenever you take one of these objective tiles, you also have to put one of your offering tiles onto that island. So if I was the blue player, I'd put this token here to show that I've taken one of these tiles from this island. The reason you do that is that it's more expensive. So it costs me 1 red to take the first one. If I come back here and want to take another one, it costs me 2. And then the third one will cost me 3. If somebody else's offering tile was here, that doesn't add, it's just your own. White tiles let you pick up these priests. I forget what they call them. I'm going to call them priests, which are out at various islands. So this island, for instance, will have all of these priests at it of this color. So if you move your ship here, you can take one of these priests. And these priests will go on your player board and they'll move along your pathway, giving you resources. And they can also potentially, if you've completed one of these objectives and it turns into a bonfire, you can move them here, and basically they're, praying at this bonfire, and that gets you extra points as well, which you can see marked on your player board. If you have one of these guys in this location at the end of the game, it's worth an extra amount of points. Then you have the purple action, which has to deal with the Great Bonfire, which is here at the other side of the game board. So here on the other side of the game board, there'll be this piece that you'll construct, and it'll kind of look like a compass, and the compass will be pointing in different directions. And one of the things you can do is you can move that compass and have it point at a different direction. And when you do that, you gain certain resources. You can either just straight gain resources. For instance, you could gain tiles here, or resources, or victory points here. But you can also gain these little portal attachments, which also go on your main game board or your player game board. And you see here that these little icons are specific, and they only go in the spot where they match. Without this token here, you can't move one of those worshipers to this spot. So again, this is interacting with your other actions. Everything here, every action you're taking is usually interacting with 1 or 2 different actions on your board. And then the last thing you can do, this brown action, is how you acquire the specialists or the king cards for extra points. Now that's a very sort of general explanation of the game because, again, it is a heavier game. And a lot of the sort of specifics of how the different mechanics work are going to be in the rule book, all those different explanations. But that's in general how you're going to play the game. And that is everything you get for Bonfire from Hall Games.